At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we always have the widest variety, the best prices, spacious aisles of total convenience, plus clean, safe surroundings. Let us care for you. Extra Foods, always extra for less.
We need to say,
no matter how, feel happy to save at KFC with a Tabanka bucket. 7 pieces of mouth-watering chicken and 7 regular sides for only $107.
Good evening, beautiful people of Trinidad and Tobago and the world over. Welcome to another edition of the Virego Warrior Woman series. Tonight, I'm in the presence of Chevaughn Joseph, another Virego who has another amazing story to share with us. And I'm your host, Josephn Griffith. I'm looking forward to how this conversation goes because Chevaughn is saying that she found peace among the shattered pieces. And that is they're so polarized, those two things, when you talk about peace and shattered pieces. But there is truth to that. So Chevaughn, good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
And for, spending the time with us, sharing the time with us. But I would share with our listeners right now that Chevaughn is actually the co-founder of the Just Because Foundation. Many of us are very, very familiar with that name and the story. I believe it's in Chevaughn's hands, but I will read for you first a quote that Chevaughn did, and why I read it, I'll tell you after. So this chapter is dedicated to women who have been knocked down by adversity in their life, be it a broken marriage, the death of a child, or the struggle of finding themselves in the midst of all the chaos that is so prevalent in the world today. I learned a long time ago that a closed door is not a bad thing. It's God's way of saying he has a bigger, better door ahead of you. Chevaughn wrote that quote. And reading this chapter and reading this quote, which was the first thing I read in the chapter, I remembered my mother's, some of her parts, her last words, and I was just sharing with you guys that my mom's anniversary of her passing is in a few days. These were her words. Adversity increases our faith in God, reveals our strength, and tightens the bonds of love. I'm so blessed in all of this. You see the similarity in this?
Yes.
So there is truth. There is truth in this. Yes. Chevaughn, I know that our listeners are dying to hear your story. So let's hear Just Because Foundation, how it was founded in the first place.
Okay, again, hi everyone, and thank you so much for this amazing opportunity to share my story. Just at the age of 3.5 years old, our son Jabez, we called him JB Joseph, was diagnosed with a rare form of childhood cancer, alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma, which in essence is cancer of the muscle. His own was in his tongue, which actually occurs 1 in 15 million children will get that. JB presented with just a little lump here. So he was a normal child, born via normal delivery, very active, very brilliant. And one morning, he just woke up with a lump. We immediately took him to a GP in the area who suggested it may have been a gland that was swollen because of a virus he was fighting off, or it could be cancer. Of course, I didn't want to hear cancer. He gave us antibiotics for him, which we started. But even while on the antibiotics, it grew. So I then took him to Dr. Bratt, the top pediatrician. And, the bottom line was he was diagnosed with this rare form of cancer, alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma. We started treatment immediately, radiotherapy, chemotherapy. Well, they did a lumpectomy or biopsy, and that's where they got the diagnosis from. But it was so rare that even though he started the treatment here, we had to go to the UK for major surgery. JB's primary tumor was in his tongue. So they had to remove half of his tongue and rebuild it with stomach muscle. It was a success. The surgery was successful. He was able to talk, he was able to eat and live basically a normal life. But unfortunately, because of how aggressive the cancer was, it had already spread to the majority of his body. So after the surgery, he probably lasted, a little less than a year, and he died on March the 24th, 2007, at the age of 5.5.
My condolences. And I know it seems as fresh as ever because this is your child. And no parent will ever want to say goodbye to their child, especially in such a way where it's a long process. You know what stood out for me just now? The fact that you're able to say the title of this disease without a stutter. I'm reading it in the chapter last night and I still couldn't pronounce it. So that just goes to show how familiar you are with it. And you had to become familiar because this is your baby. This is your baby who you want to save. You want to be his hero, but he turned out to be your hero.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
try everything as parents.
Yes.
So to have this come out a different way, and I remember Noel saying, JB would live, and as it was in his tongue, his thought was he would testify with even having half of a tongue and half with stomach muscle, that he saw the vision of him at 14 years old testifying about his walk with cancer and his healing. And it wasn't meant to be that way, but I see his death as healing as well because we were able to do more.
Yes.
There was a bigger picture, basically.
And it's as though JB is still he's giving his testimony because he's just doing it in the way that we didn't expect. But
Yes.
God's plan it always trumps every plan that we have.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, so definitely. And JB is your forever guardian angel.
Yes,
Yeah.
and one of the things I always say too is that in the 2 years that JB was ill, I learned more from him than I learned from anybody else in my entire life. And that is the truth because
Yes.
the life lessons he shared with me, I think made me the person I am today, that, I could go on in spite of and nurture people and be a support based on what he shared with me while he was.
Yes. What would you say to a parent who would have lost a child? And I mean, like any offspring at all. It could be an adult child as well, once it's your child. Because we lost a nephew at the age of 21. He had a rare stomach disease as well. He had, what do we call that? Crohn's disease.
Right.
And we lost him as well in the earthly life. But we know that we have his spirit living on. What would you say to a parent who's experiencing something like that right now?
Okay, for me, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that God couldn't have healed JB here on earth. But it was his will to take JB at the tender age of 5.5, and it has allowed us to do what we're doing. I would absolutely say, especially if you have that faith that God's will be done. No matter what we did as parents, we prayed, we did everything. But at the end of the day, God knows best.
That's
And,
right.
his memory does live on in the work that we do. Find something that within your journey may not be a foundation, but whatever your experience was within your child's illness, be it an adult child, find something that you would have received, some anything that you would be able to share with someone else, a neighbor, a co-worker, anyone who's experiencing loss, especially in these times, to be
Absolutely.
able to share with that person.
It could only be something like that when you look at it in hindsight as well and ongoing. Because I remembered our journey with mom when she was going through her own battle with cancer. And we kept asking questions why? Why her? Why now? She was only 62. But what we have learned from that situation as her children, what we have learned from that is that, as you said just now, God's will be done. And we tend to look a little closer at the person, the individual. Look a little closer at the behavior, the way that we're dealing with this particular battle. And it gives you, so sometimes I believed from that experience, I believe that sometimes the lesson is through this particular situation.
Yes,
You know?
yes, absolutely.
You spoke about your marriage ending in divorce after a while. And I know that the existing relationships after something so final like the death of a child, especially, can really, really put a strain on relationships.
Yes.
So, how was that journey for you?
Okay. During JB's illness, I would not have wanted to be with anybody by my side other than Noel.
Mm-hmm.
I still consider him my soulmate. He's my best friend. But I believe that after JB's death, I don't think Noel dealt with it because of the two of us. He was the more spiritually mature person.
Right.
Even while JB's cancer was spreading, Noel was 100% sure that JB would survive.
Mm-hmm.
At his funeral, in the casket, Noel was saying, God, show yourself. I know you can do this. You've done it in the past. You've raised the dead. So I think Noel's faith was, I don't know, shifted after JB died. And I
Which is
think I believe
perfectly
he lost
fine. Yes.
himself. Yeah. And men are different. Men don't really talk as much as women.
Yeah.
I think he lost himself a bit. And when I use the foundation to channel my grief and to move forward, I think, I just kind of got lost
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the line and we disconnected from each other,
Right.
fortunately.
And I mean, that happens, but it did improve your relationship as friends because you all are still running the organization.
Yes, absolutely.
So you get that sense of commitment there still, and that's very, very commendable.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
at the end of the day, it is for JB, it is for children and families like your own who are experiencing the very same thing. It's
Yes.
very selfless, even though it ended in divorce. It's very selfless, and I think that we ought to still applaud that sort of a behavior and accept life as it unfolds.
Yes.
And
Also, I think too, as a married couple, we were seen as a model couple.
right,
Even though we are divorced now, people still see us as a model couple because normally divorce ends in bitterness and anger,
right,
and it brings that out. But
yes,
now, like we are very, very good friends still, and as you said, we are operating and running the foundation together as founders, just as it was in the beginning. So it also shows something in spite of the divorce. There's something good that still has come out of it. I think
yes.
we're better friends now, actually.
I've heard so many stories like that, and I love to hear it. The bitter part where some people talk about they're so bitter and it ends up in a lot of bacchanal sometimes. I really, really like to hear these. I look at that as a success story because at the end of the day, we're individuals, and the way that things unfold sometimes,
Yes.
we have no control over that. But the fact that you could still maintain an amicable and good friendship is that's a winning combination for
Yes,
everybody involved.
absolutely.
Yes, it's respectful. I just love that. We were talking also about you unearthing different parts of yourself and talents that you didn't even know that you had through this entire process. So you became an author.
Yeah.
But before the author, tell me about this vinyl. What was it called?
Um, the Butterfly Creations.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. How? Tell me
So,
about the vinyl cutter and how you started off with this vinyl cutter.
okay, truth be told, I cannot draw a straight line with a ruler. So I am pretty sure this creative side of me is God given as well. So
Mm,
on just before COVID, we had a situation where um, we we ordered some stuff from someone and they could not fulfill the order. It was for JBF.
mhm.
And my assistant at the time, Rachel, said, why don't you invest in a cutter? Because that is what she would have used to do it. So we did it, and that was December. And then COVID happened in March and the lockdown. And I had a lot of time on my hands because, well, I live alone and I had the cutter and I had vinyl. And so I just looked at a whole lot of tutorials and realized that I'm doing this. Like afterwards, I could not believe that it came from my hands. Like I actually did this. And when I showed Rachel and my other assistant, Renisha and Noel, what I had created, they were like, that's Pinterest. And I'm like, no, I did this, So I
Wow.
think the whole process of being in lockdown and finding myself and looking in the mirror and having to really pull myself together, because even before I couldn't put gas in my car. I hate going to the grocery. I hated being in lines at TSTT and TNTX. So I just
Right.
had to find myself. And in that lockdown situation, I did. And I'm now doing bags and bottles, and I have Valentine's Day gifts, Mother's Day gifts. Christmas was crazy for me this year with that because a lot of people ordered.
Yes.
And I am now seeing myself differently as not someone who probably still can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but I'm very creative in that I can now use the cutter and look at these tutorials and really give gifts of meaning to people who, because it's personalized stuff.
Oh my
So,
God. Great.
it's really turned out pretty well.
That sounds really, really great. And when I read the part about your laptop being stolen with all of your content in it,
Yeah.
I literally gasped because I'm like, when something comes from you in an organic sense, it comes from here and from here,
Your heart, yes.
you cannot recreate that, because you're writing in the moment or you're speaking in the moment or whatever it is you're doing, it's in the moment and how you feel at that point in time. So to have lost everything, you feel as though, like when your phone falls and the screen shatters and you can't access anybody because you don't know any numbers at all.
Absolutely.
I felt like that for you when I was reading that part of your chapter. But I'm like, look at how the opportunity presented itself again
Yes.
in the daily newspaper article that you wrote for about a few months.
2 years actually.
2 years. Oh, that's fantastic.
1 month, and then we loved it, and it was supposed to be for 2 months, and it ended up being 2 years, 2018 to 2020.
2020.
Amazing opportunity, yeah.
And you could have reached a wider audience like that. So everything, things really happen for a reason. Oh my gosh.
Really.
Yes, they do. They do. So finding your piece in the shattered pieces, you're looking at things falling apart, but yet you're finding so many other parts of yourself
Yes.
as a result. And just looking at you now, I could tell that no regrets at all.
No regrets.
No regrets.
I'm still going to write the book,
Yes.
Why Not Me, which was that manuscript was stolen. So I think it's something that I still want to do. I don't know if I'll publish it, but I would definitely want to finish it.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. That would be great because I remember reading that part. And that's a question a lot of us ask ourselves. Why me? Why is this happening to me? And then when we get that epiphany, you ask yourself, why not me? I have the strength to go through this.
And God,
for this battle. I can't disappoint him.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because then he'll keep putting it, huh?
Yeah.
When we don't acknowledge the lesson in the test that we're given, oh my gosh, he's going to keep packing it on, huh? Yeah. So it's like, let's just get it done right one time.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yes, it's really something else. So the Anansi series, Anansi Goes to Hospital. I love it. I love the fact that where you spoke about that communities and neighbors. I didn't even think about neighbors getting an understanding of what your family might have endured at that point in time.
Absolutely. It's for everyone in the community.
Yes.
A lot of times single parents have to leave their jobs as well, and their employers don't really understand what is going through. So even that will be touched in the book as something real, that we go through. Grandparents are affected, siblings, Raven, 3 weeks after Judy died, she was like, Mom, I felt invisible. I felt like a sack of potatoes. Everyone called and asked how JB was doing, but no one asked how I was doing, which was not true. But through the eyes of a child, that's what she saw. JB was on the front doing that kind of thing. So it's dealing with siblings as well. So it deals with everything that happens when a child is diagnosed with childhood cancer.
And as I mentioned before, JBF, the Just Because Foundation, is a name that so many people know about it, even if we don't know exactly what you do. We have heard it before, and it must mean that a lot of communities and organizations are teaming up with you. You were on my station as well. At some point in time, you came to speak with Natasha at some point. And I am saying that in a situation like that, when the work is ongoing, do you ever take a moment to say, JB, thank you?
every day.
Of course, I totally get that.
I'll tell you why. Because every day that I go to the hospital and I see the JBF specialty unit sign, it reminds me of where we were as parents. We're not doctors, we're not professionals in the sense that, in the medical profession. But because of JB and because of what he went through and our experience as a family, the JBF ward has been established. Prior to that, it was just Med 1, Med 2, and surgical, which deals with general medicine, basically.
Right.
So I look at that and I remember. Of course, I have this picture here, and I mean, it may sound a little crazy, but when I'm leaving, sometimes I say bye, JB James, and when I come back home, I say hi, JB James.
That's not crazy because I tell my mom good morning and good evening every day when I get home and leaving the house.
I don't think so bad, but
No, not at all. It helps with keeping their memory alive and talking to them as though they're right here. I do it all the time.
I believe he is. And I used to ask people, like, if we achieve something or if we do something, I'm like, I wonder if JB knows that we didn't forget him and that this is 14 years after, and we have honored some of his requests because he wanted us to fix up the hospital in Trinidad after experiencing the hospital heaven when he was in the UK for his surgery. And I often wonder if he knows, like, even given the gifts, and he instructed us to feed people when we went to Woodford Square to feed the homeless. He's like, Mom, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And he died 3 weeks after. So,
5 years.
Yeah, 5.5 years old.
5.5 years old, and he's able to have this big heart. How many people you see like that walking around? He was definitely an angel walking on earth, and it was just mad. He was loaned to us for a little while.
Yeah.
What are the like the major seasons? Like we have Christmas and his birthday. Those significant types of occasions that come up. How is that for you, family?
Well, as I said, Christmas, we will try to do stuff on the ward. We celebrate all national holidays.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, so I think that Chevaughn will join us again in a little while. You know how technology behaves sometimes, but I'm totally enjoying this conversation with Chevaughn. And you see her sitting there in such elegance and such calm. And I could only see strength emanating from you, Chevaughn. Only strength I'm seeing emanating from you. And I just can't wait for this conversation to continue. So we were talking about you'll celebrate every national holiday as well.
So we do Eid, Diwali, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day. It's we have to do less now, but we still decorate the ward. So Valentine's Day coming up, we'll decorate the ward, and the parents, the patients, doctors and nurses will receive a little token from the Just Because Foundation. And we try to bring a sense of normalcy to the kids, to the parents, even though they're hospitalized. We celebrate birthdays on the ward, and it's something that is so important to us because we don't know what is going to happen. So we make sure that every day spent on the ward is as fun as possible. Like I said, we have some challenges now because of COVID, but we've even had children who don't want to be discharged. They want to stay on the ward.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. And of course, their parents get an opportunity to stay with them there because they're minors. So,
now because of COVID, we've had to suspend a lot of our services because of COVID, but our transportation is still available. We have a bus to take the parents to and from or the patients and such. We also have our home away from home, which is for short-term accommodation. we have a family from Tobago there now, and we may actually, well, we can house 2 families now because of COVID. So we may have another family from Tobago coming in shortly. So, you know, we still try to do as best as we can. We have hampers. We get people who donate grocery items, and we make hampers. Sometimes we do market produce. We do toiletries, you know. So we, in spite of what is happening, we are there on a daily basis. Our office is there. The parents have access to us via WhatsApp, via phone. We actually started a virtual craft session because we've still
awesome. Yes.
Yeah, so you know,
yeah,
allow them to have tablets and we do the craft virtually. We try to work around this the COVID restrictions, making sure that we keep the protocols in mind, and you know, we don't want to do anything that would cause.
Of course, especially with health being one of the major things that your organization is working with. So obviously that has to be paid attention to. But I want to ask you a personal question though, because you've spoken a lot about what the foundation does on the board and all of that. How are you?
Finding back myself. And like I said, because of COVID, I had to face myself in the mirror and be true to who I was. And you know, even though Noel is still a support system for me,
yes,
I needed to find myself. So at times it's hard because of course I expected Noel and I to be together until 19. But I'm doing okay. I read a lot. The writing has helped me a lot. So I just started my own platform called Chef Writes It on Facebook. Because I do what you call it, spoken word, and I.
Oh, nice! That's cool. That's really cool.
A lot of it is about me and my feelings and what I'm going through. I'm very active at church. I am the percussionist at my church, Reformation Life Center. So that also keeps me very occupied in having to go to practice and having to learn new things. So I'm good. I'm not saying that it's all good.
Of course. It's a journey. Yes.
And you know, earlier this year, my pastor had a teaching on Josephn and the detours in your life, where you grow. So if something is happening negatively, I find the positive in it, and I make sure that I learn from it and I grow from it. And that's what I'm going to be writing about as well, because we all have these things that we go through, but we not necessarily know why. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to bless anyone with my experiences, even now.
Yeah.
So, you know, my process of
and you know that the lesson really is in the process, because people need to know, how did you really cope with this? How did you cope with getting the news? How did you cope with, and this is why I asked the question, how are you? Because at the end of the day, you're a human being just like the rest of us. And we are just seeing Chevaughn, the person with the foundation. We're seeing Chevaughn as the speaker, Chevaughn as the church lady, Chevaughn as the creative. We're seeing that, but I just wanted to ask a question so people can see that it's a human being sitting in front of them and know that you have your moments, and that each of us, we have to be there to support each other throughout our life's processes. Yeah.
And something that I've said always, that if Chevaughn, the person, is not good, is not well, is not whole, then Chevaughn, the mom, the sister, the aunt, the founder, the friend, will not be at the top of my game. So I have to take care of me. So one of my friends, Melina, also said to me, self-care is not selfish. You have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
To be able to replenish and serve others.
Yes. And you know, it's not, as you said, it's not every time that you can be good, because there will be moments you feel as though, what could I have done differently to save my child? What could I have done differently? And you might start blaming yourself or something like that. But I hope that you don't get those moments anymore.
Actually, because as parents, we did everything possible.
Right.
And like I said earlier, I know without a shadow of a doubt that God could have saved JB. It's nothing we did as parents, but it was for this.
Yes.
God lent us JB for 5.5 years. And it's for this. And we have grown, we have helped so many families. I don't know if JB had survived. We would have done something based on who we are, but it would not have been on this scale, definitely. So
Yes.
thank God. I mean, I would be honest, I sometimes wish he could have done it differently.
I
But
know.
his
Yes.
will be done, and I have seen over the years where he has been by my side every step of the way. So, you know,
Oh,
it's comforting.
I love it. So would you say that your shattered pieces are actually a whole?
I may have some little pieces still to fit in. I don't know if realistically if we will ever be whole, because stuff happens every day.
All the time, yes.
Take a look at, and then to me, if there's perfection, then there's no need for God.
Correct.
I
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I stay humble in the fact that whatever I'm going through, it gives me an opportunity to stay connected with God.
And how is Raven doing? I know she's finished with her medical school.
Well, this is her last semester. She's doing one of these top students.
Ah, congrats to her.
Focus. Thank you so much. I will always say, I think she got the best of Noel and I, our personalities, our everything. She is the best of both of us put together. She's very driven. She's very brilliant. She's very focused. Always from baby, she has been focused on what she wants. She wanted to be a doctor when we went to the UK, and she wanted to study in the UK because she loved the environment that we were in. And she's in Cardiff University.
Right.
She was on the merit list in year 3, and she's just so progressive. She also started the it's a society for women in surgery, and she's the president in the Cardiff. She started that Cardiff branch. The sky's the limit, and the V in her name is a capital V, and as baby said, V is for victory. And that's what we spoke into her life.
Oh my goodness.
And every chance I get, say to her, Raven, you are destined for greatness. And that's exactly what is happening. So what we speak comes to pass. You know, as it says in the Bible, it's in the power of God.
Absolutely. In the power of your tongue.
In the tongue. So I, from birth, and I realized she was a girl because I thought she was a boy. We put the V, the capital V, so it's R-A capital V-E-N.
Okay.
V is for victory.
Okay. So I wish her every success, and I know that her extra drive is because of her brother as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and you all are doing a really, really fantastic job, Chevaughn, in terms of blessing other families through your own experience, through your own shattered pieces. And that is also helping you to find your own peace, helping them to find peace as well. And this is exactly what God has put us here for, to serve each other, to find his peace, and to continue to grow towards, you know, everlasting life. So I just really, really want to thank you for sparing the time with us, sharing your story in a very authentic sense, inspiring us as well. Oh my gosh, you're a Virgo woman. I loved your chapter, and I wish you every success in all of the endeavors that you embark on, because I know that there's a book series coming out. You still have stuff in the pipeline that you want to work on, and of course, the creative side of it. What's the name of that business again?
It's Hey Butterfly Creations.
Hey,
H-E-Y, Hey Butterfly.
Hey Butterfly Creations, right. And those things definitely go along with, you said that some of the gifts are very personalized. They go a very, very long way, very meaningful to a lot of folk. So I wish you every success with that also, and continue to do what you're doing as Just Because Foundation, because a lot of families were either saved or knew how to deal with their young children being diagnosed with cancer. Right?
Thank you so much.
So to our listeners as well, say that again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to share with our listeners before we wrap it up?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you to Michelle Barrell and Virego Global for this amazing opportunity. And to our listeners, what I use to survive is my relationship with God. And once that is key, once you have that relationship with him, you would be able to go through the highs and the lows. And I always try to let people see Christ in me. It don't always work because, I'm still working on anger issues and stuff, but be mindful of
yes.
when someone sees you, they should be able to see a Christ-like image. And that's what I strive for.
I have one more question for you before we close off. Huh?
Okay.
How was when you were approached to write this chapter? How was that for you? To be a part of this story with other women who have some may not be similar stories to yours, but to share something from deep down inside of them and from inside of you. How was this to get an invitation to write, and what was the process like for you in terms of writing this particular story?
Okay, immediately I was blown away when Michelle called me with the opportunity. Totally blown away. And then, to be honest, when I saw the other 14 women of strength, it was intimidating for me.
Really?
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not I'm a behind the scenes person.
Okay.
But I had to come out of my box in order to do this. Writing it was authentic. It was my truth.
Of course, yes, I can tell.
And I had written before about JB's story. My divorce actually came out in Virego. It was unknown before. It wasn't public before.
Okay.
So that in itself is scary because, as I said, because we work together, people see us together and we don't be fighting and quarreling or whatever. So people didn't know. So Virego was my stepping out into this is what has happened to Noel and I.
Yes. We gotta be
on all fronts.
Yeah, we got to be ruthless and honest about our experiences, as uncomfortable as they may be, but yet they end up being very comfortable. When you're sharing like that, they end up being comfortable, and it's a sort of a cleansing for you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I didn't want people to think we were the model married couple when we had in fact broken down. We now the model couple, But I wanted. I didn't know how to do it, to come out. And it would have been on Facebook, but I wanted a platform, and God opened this opportunity for me to share what happened between Noel
and that in itself is helping folk to deal with. And that didn't even have anything. A divorce doesn't necessarily have anything to do with losing a child, because divorce happens for various reasons.
Yes.
But to even talk about that, so you even entered into a different realm of people that you can help through that experience, and trying to keep it nice and peaceful, because we're seeing how domestic violence rates are rising in our country and throughout the world. So that in itself is a success story. And I wish you all every success with your friendship as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Chevaughn, for sharing the time with us this evening, and looking forward to sharing with many of the other Virego women. I can't wait to see what's next. But thank you, and have an awesome evening.
Thank you. Be blessed and stay safe.
Thank you.
At Extra Foods, we care for you. That's why we always have the widest varieties, the best prices, spacious aisles of total convenience, plus clean, safe surroundings. Let us care for you. Extra Foods, always extra for less.
We need to say.
No matter how, feel happy to save at KFC with a Tabanka bucket. 7 pieces of mouth-watering chicken and 7 regular sides for only $107.